Conor McGregor recently came out and tweeted that he's going to give middleweight a go 110% at some point in the UFC. So today I'm doing something crazy, bro. I'm going to look at the UFC top 15 rankings and I'm going to decide who Conor McGregor has a chance against. Uh, 1 to 10. So 10 being will beat them, 1 no fucking chance against them. And I'm just going to look through all these guys and just assume that Conor McGregor bulks up to be a average size or maybe smaller size middleweight contender in the UFC and gets a top 15 opponent of his choosing. Let's go from number 15, Darren the Gorilla Till, lad. Let's go, Darren. I think Conor McGregor would be a decent matchup for Darren Till. There wouldn't be much grappling, which would be kind of beneficial to both these guys. Darren Till is quite small for middleweight as well. He's pretty, like, I wouldn't say he's not a diverse striker, but he doesn't throw that much. You know, he's like that dude that just spams 1-1-2, 1-1-2. You know what I'm saying? Like we all got a mate on UFC 4 that fights like Darren Till, bro. So Darren Till is not exactly going to come out and surprise Conor McGregor with his fighting abilities, with his combinations. Even though I think Darren Till has all the skills, looking on paper to beat Conor McGregor and the physicality. I just don't trust Darren Till under those big situations, and his grapplings look very sus. And I can't say that Conor McGregor's grappling is sus. Like, he's obviously not a high level wrestler on the level of Makhachev, you know, fucking Khabib, right? But people act like his grappling's terrible, but it's really not. Like, if you know anything about grappling, like if you've ever wrestled a day in your life or you grappled a day in your life, you go, yeah, Conor McGregor knows what he's doing. Like, so I would say Conor McGregor I'm going to give him like a 7 or an 8 against Darren Till in the middleweight division. We move on. Chris Curtis, action man. The power of Chris Curtis is really there. The cardio of Chris Curtis is really there. His grappling defense is quite well. I don't think he would use it that much against Conor McGregor. And I don't know how offensively he would like to wrestle against McGregor. So I could see that being a decent matchup for McGregor. I think Chris Curtis is more diverse as a striker than Darren Till, at least what we're seeing at the moment. So I'm going to say overall Chris Curtis is a 5 to 6 for Conor McGregor. At best form, full training camp at middleweight. That's what I'll say. We move on. Number 13, Kelvin Gastelum. Now this is an interesting one because I think Kelvin Gastelum's a good wrestler. He's got good power. He's a big boy. He's a big wrestler. So he has a decent matchup against McGregor on his hands. You know, his defense is not the best. He does get hit quite a lot, which could benefit McGregor. And he is very straightforward with what he's going to do. He's going to swing his lead hand, and he's going to throw that hook in that right hand, or that left hand behind it. Sorry, excuse me. And he's going to be looking for that double leg against the cage, the KG special. It's working really well for him right now. So I'm going to say, just off the style matchup, 5 to 6. Maybe a 4 if it's like a in-shape Kelvin Gastelum. But 2022 Kelvin Gastelum, I'm going to give Conor McGregor a 5 or a 6 against him. Number 12, Nasruddin Imavov. Slowed down pretty badly in the third round against Joaquin Buckley, but a very aggressive guy, very good grappler. Decently sized for middleweight. He's not the biggest middleweight, but he's not the smallest either. Good finishing abilities. Trains in a good gym. I'm going to say Nasruddin Imavov is a 4 to 5 for McGregor at middleweight. We move on. Andre Muniz is a pretty bad matchup for Conor McGregor, in my opinion. His grappling, his jiu-jitsu, is very, very aggressive. He's a scary, scary grappler at middleweight. He broke Jacare Souza's arm, which is no small feat, you know. He's on a good win streak right now. They're talking about giving this guy big fights at middleweight. I think he just got a fight announced, and it was like, oh my God, was it Brendan Allen, or was that ages ago? I saw that on Showdog today. I hope that's not a fight, because Andre Muniz needs to be fighting someone above him in the rankings, but I digress. For Conor McGregor's sake, I'm going to say Andre Muniz is a 3 or a 4 for him, okay? He's a bit, he went to a decision with Uriah Hall, an older Uriah Hall, but his grappling is so good. His jiu-jitsu is really, really scary. I think that is Conor McGregor's weak spot. I'm not saying he's a bad grappler, but I'm saying that is his weak spot. So I'm going to say Andre Muniz probably has the best chance so far out of the top guys outside the top 15 against Conor McGregor. We move on. Number 10, Dricus du Plessis. He said it about Till, and I'm going to say it here about McGregor, bro. McGregor's too small. Dricus du Plessis is a big dude. He packs a good punch. His cardio is a bit sus, I think, after that last fight, but his grappling is so good. I could definitely see it going similar to the Darren Till fight. I'm going to say Dricus du Plessis is a 2 to 3 for McGregor. I think there is a chance if he gets du Plessis the way that Till had him in round 2, McGregor finishes that fight, McGregor finds a way, Darren Till doesn't pull the trigger. I think Conor McGregor does. However, do I see Dricus du Plessis just picking up McGregor, slamming him down and submitting him? Yeah, most likely. So I'm going to say Dricus du Plessis is a 2 to 3 risk for McGregor. So quite a low chance of McGregor winning. We move on to another guy for him, Jack Hermansson. Not the best striker. I think that could benefit McGregor quite well. Not the best takedowns either. Like he's a very good grappler on the ground. But his takedowns are not like he's not a high level wrestler. I would say he's more of a high level jiu-jitsu guy. Very aggressive, but kind of content to stay on the outside if he's getting picked apart. So I think there's more winnability here for Conor McGregor than against an Andre Muniz or a Dricus du Plessis. Still probably one of the worst matchups for him at middleweight. I'm gonna go with a 4 or a 5 for Conor McGregor. I think it's more winnable than those matchups, but still probably a bad matchup for him. I think he has a better chance against Chris Curtis, against Darren Till, and some other guys up top. But I continue. Roman Dolidze, quite a explosive middleweight, a big middleweight, has a very high level grappling game and power on the feet. I think this would be a very, very bad matchup for Conor McGregor. If these two were the same size, I would still say the same. So I'm going to say Roman Dolidze after his last performance as well. I know Jack Hermansson is not exactly like a world beater at 185, but that's still a good win. I'm going to say Roman Dolidze is a 2 or a 3 risk for Conor McGregor. So very, very tough fight for him. I don't think this is the type of fight he should be looking for if he's going to seriously fight at middleweight. I'm going to move on to someone that I think Conor McGregor could beat. Number 7, Sean Strickland. Okay. I like Sean Strickland. I know we all like Sean Strickland. Okay. I know he just had a good fight against Jared Cannonier, but Conor McGregor is so quick. He's explosive. He's powerful. He's not necessarily a one-hit KO type guy, but I think he could definitely find a rhythm and a tempo that could just be counterpunching Sean Strickland all night long, 15 minutes or 25 minutes. The grappling is there for Sean Strickland. He is a good wrestler, but I think Conor McGregor is a good enough striker to kind of freeze that up. When we saw Alex Pereira standing in front of him, I don't say Conor McGregor and Alex Pereira are the same level of striker or same type of striker, but I would say Conor McGregor is quite a high-level striker and an explosive one, and I could see him definitely capitalizing and counterpunching against Sean Strickland. So I'm going to say a 6 or a 7 or an 8 between that range for Conor McGregor against Sean Strickland in the UFC middleweight division. We move on to Paulo the Eraser Costa. He will not be fighting in the UFC. He's actually going to be fighting BKFC against Mike Perry. Nah, dude, could you imagine that fight? Yeah, you're welcome. I just gave you a great fight, by the way. No, in all seriousness, Paulo Costa, take away all the contract negotiations, take away all that stuff. Quite a highly ranked guy at middleweight. Not the best striker, like not as much power as people give him credit for. But I'm going to say his grappling is very good, very underrated. He's a very, very strong guy, strong grappler. His cardio is really good. I think we can get rid of the cardio allegations against Paulo Costa. He's very good at good cardio. So I'm going to say Paulo Costa actually has a decent chance against Conor McGregor if they're the same size. I'm going to say Paulo Costa, skill for skill. Probably gets rocked on the feet like he did against Rockhold. That kind of concerns me. But his grappling is so good. He's so big. He's so strong. I would say Paulo Costa is a 4 or a 3 for Conor McGregor. Not a very winnable matchup. There is openings there, but I would say nowhere near as winnable as Sean Strickland or Darren Till or, a Kelvin Gastelum fight for him. We move on. Number 5, Derek Brunson, the GOAT, Blonde Brunson. I love Derek Brunson. He is probably a very winnable matchup for Conor McGregor. All he does is shoot. His striking is like he's underwater fighting a baby, and the baby is Juliana Pena. Like that, and he's losing. Like his striking is just not up to par in the UFC. He was getting rocked all over the shop by Darren Till. He is just not a UFC level striker. He's just not good enough to strike with these UFC guys. He gets knockouts. He has power. He does have power. He does have the wrestling. But I think and his cardio is weirdly bad as well. So I just think Conor McGregor would kind of have his way with Derek Brunson if they were the same size. The only thing that would affect it is the physicality. If Conor McGregor came in small, I know his frame is small. Like I know he's putting on muscle, but his frame as a human being is quite small. But if we're talking fully prepped, fully prepared, fully like in middleweight shape, Conor McGregor at the size that he needs to be, skill for skill, he beats Derek Brunson. I'm gonna say that's a 9 or a 10 for Conor McGregor. Like I think Derek Brunson is just not that good really skill wise. I think a lot of it comes down to fighting guys that are just not ready to fight him, or just guys that just are middleweights and just don't know how to defend a takedown. So Conor McGregor would win that one quite easily, I think, skill for skill. And if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below, bro. Number 4, Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori. How is that even a fucking question? Like, Marvin Vettori's like Derek Brunson, just more skilled, like just slightly. Like I don't think there's anything that jumps off the page about Marvin Vettori. He's not necessarily a good wrestler, a good grappler, or a good striker. A lot of it is just his tenacity. His chin is incredible. That would really benefit him. His cardio is really good, his pace. So I think over a 5-round fight, I would favor Vettori. But I could definitely see him getting pieced up by Conor McGregor in striking. And the takedowns against the cage just not working for him. So I'm going to say this is a pretty even, like, physicality, cardio-wise, tenacity, chin-wise, Vettori is there the whole fight. But skill for skill, Conor McGregor is just better than Marvin Vettori as a striker and just way more technical, way more talented as a fighter. But you do have to give Vettori some props for his fighting style and just the physical attributes that he has that kind of keep him in these fights and win him fights. So I'm going to say Marvin Vettori is probably a 5 or a 6 for Conor McGregor. I would lean towards Vettori over a decision, but I wouldn't be super confident in him. I wouldn't be surprised, let's say that, if Conor McGregor was to beat Marvin Vettori, skill for skill. Number 3, Jared Cannonier. This is interesting to me, bro. Okay, because I'm trying to keep the size aspect in it, but at the same time, if I'm talking about a middleweight Conor McGregor, if he was to move up to middleweight and fully immerse himself as a middleweight and get big and fill out and become the same size as some of these middleweights, skill for skill, who wins, right? Jared Cannonier. Not necessarily the best striker. He's quite technical for a middleweight, but I wouldn't call him like a good striker. I wouldn't call him a great striker. I would say he's a good striker. You know what I mean? His wrestling defense is quite good. He's doesn't really wrestle. Like, he doesn't wrestle in his fights. He's he goes for those calf kicks, which would bode well against McGregor. But he is quite hittable. He does get hit a lot. He does get rocked a bit. I think his chin is a bit sus. I think he's a scary looking dude. So many people don't get in those exchanges with him. But I've seen him get rocked a lot in the UFC, even at middleweight. I know he has weirdly good power. I think it's just that natural, that weight cut power that he has. So I would say Jared Cannonier has a good chance of catching Conor McGregor, hurting him with calf kicks, and then finishing him. But other than that, I would say skill for skill, technique-wise, Conor McGregor is better. But the frame, the size of Cannonier, the power is big difference. Less skilled kind of like Poirier fight I could see happening, even though McGregor did well in that fight. I just don't think his power would affect many of these middleweights as well. That's the thing I got to consider as well. So most of these would be a decision. I think his best chance in a decision would be Sean Strickland, Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vettori, Derek Brunson. He could probably finish. Darren Till, he has a decent chance over a decision. Chris Curtis, you know what I'm saying? But some of these guys, like, Roman Dolidze, Andre Muniz, Dricus du Plessis, I would even lean a bit, Paulo Costa. Some of the physicality aspects of it is just too much for him, and the cardio is too much, and just their size and their grappling abilities. But with Jared Cannonier, I do see a way Conor McGregor could skill for skill beat him. I think he does get underrated at this point, McGregor does. So I'm going to say Jared Cannonier, on a scale of 1 to 10, how winnable is that for McGregor? I'm going to say that's a 6 for Conor McGregor. There's a lot of risk there, skill-wise. I'm talking skill for skill. They're the same size. Skill for skill, it's a 6 for McGregor. It's winnable, but it's also very dangerous. And I think I would lean... A lot of these, I feel like I'd pick the other guy, the middleweight guy, just out of fear of McGregor just getting chinned. Just the size of them. But I need to see him in there. I need to see how big he looks and what his power looks like at middleweight, and I don't think it would translate that much. It doesn't really translate at welterweight. So we move on to Robert the Reaper Whittaker. I'm gonna say this is like a 2 for McGregor. Robert Whittaker's just too good. Any weight class Robert Whittaker's at, he's genuinely skillful, and that's why he's so much better than everyone else at middleweight because he actually has skills. Like he actually has fucking real abilities and skills and a game besides being big and having cardio or being able to stop a takedown. He's really, really high level. I think he's just his size plus his skills and his game, like he'd mix in those takedowns so well on McGregor. He'd catch him with a head kick. He just real his game would be, I think McGregor would really be like, wow, shit. Even though he is a bit chinny, I could see McGregor catching him and dropping him in the first round. But I would lean Robert Whittaker all day. So I'm going to say this is like a 1 or a 2 for Conor McGregor. This is the fight he should avoid with all of his being if he was to go to middleweight. Robert Whittaker is just a bad matchup for him. Probably the worst matchup for him out of the potential 3 champions that this division would have. But we move on. Israel Adesanya. Very, very skillful guy. Not necessarily the most powerful. Decently sized middleweight. I think he cuts a bit more weight than people seem to think. His skills are very good to beat McGregor. He'd use his length because he's obviously much bigger. He'd use his length, he'd use his jab. McGregor would be able to counterpunch quite well because Israel Adesanya is quite hittable. His head movement is good against Marvin Vettori, and Jared Cannonier, obviously. But you see him against Whittaker or fucking Pereira, he's getting jabbed his face off. So I think Conor McGregor would actually do quite well against Israel Adesanya. So I wouldn't say he'd win, but I'm gonna give Conor McGregor a 4 or 5 against Israel Adesanya. His skills are quite there. Israel Adesanya is not an aggressive guy. He's not going to pull the trigger. He's not going to put the pace on McGregor. It's going to be a technical fight, and McGregor's really good at counterpunching. I think it would be quite boring and quite close of a fight, really. Maybe too close of a fight. So I'm going to say a 4 or 5 or a 6 for Conor McGregor against Israel Adesanya. And finally, the middleweight champion, Alex Pereira. Scary, scary big dude. Not afraid to grapple. Decent cardio to go 5 rounds aggressively. Big power, big technique. Really underrated as a technical fighter, I think, right now in the UFC. I think Alex Pereira is a pretty bad matchup on the feet for Conor McGregor. In the grappling, I could see him trying to take down McGregor at first and, maybe getting a takedown, but probably not. McGregor's quite an experienced grappler. He's very good at defending against the best guys in the world. I think he would stuff Alex Pereira's takedowns quite easily if they would come. And then it would be a striking match. And I think it would end a bit like the Poirier fight. I think McGregor would start off doing well. And then Alex Pereira would kind of figure him out. He's a high-level glory champion. And I think he would knock out Conor McGregor. So I'm going to say this is a 1 or a 2 for Conor McGregor. It's a bad matchup. Probably a slightly bit more winnable than the Whittaker fight. But I don't know. They're both terrible fights for him, bro. But everyone else in the middleweight division, I would say Conor McGregor has a decent to light chance against, if I was to quote Fantano. So let me know what you think down below. How does McGregor fare at middleweight if he goes there? Do you think he's just trolling? What do you think of this whole thing? And who would you put Conor McGregor against at middleweight? Let me know down below, boys. I'll see you in the next one when Derek Brunson becomes middleweight champion, because that will be happening next year at some point.